Okay, we are now live.
Excellent. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the April 2019 Wikimedia Research Showcase. I'm your host today, Jonathan Morgan of the research team. Today we have at least one presentation. Our first presenter will be Ark Zhang, who's currently a data scientist at Uber, and Ark will be presenting his graduate work at the University of Michigan iSchool on group membership and contributions to public information goods, the case of WikiProjects. Hopefully we'll be joined by Swati Goel after Ark's done, and hopefully Swati will join us and present on her work on studying the thanks feature on Wikimedia websites. So cross your fingers with me that Swati joins us today, because I'm really interested in hearing both of these presentations. With that, Ark, if you could share your screen with us, and I'll let you take it from here.
Okay, thanks for the introduction, Jonathan, and very excited to have the opportunity to present my graduate work at the Wikimedia Foundation. So the topic.
Sorry, Ark. Yes. Give us just a minute. We have. Looks like Swati will be joining us.
Okay.
And is joining us now. So let's give her a chance to join up.
Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption. Okay, good. Also, your slides had gone away for a second. I wanted to make sure we saw those. Emerald, do we have Ark's slides?
Slides are up. Just 1 second.
Awesome. Perfect.
Jonathan, can you see my slides?
I could up until just a second ago, but now I cannot see them anymore.
I just shared it through full screen.
So I think that the full screen might actually be the problem.
How about this?
Yep, that's visible to both of us. So if you're able to move forward with the slides like that, that sounds like that'll be ideal. Does that work?
Yes, I'll present it in that way.
Excellent. All right, and now without further ado, take it away, Ark. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So today I'm going to present my graduate work, group membership, and contributions to public information goods, the case of WikiProject. This is a joint work with my graduate advisor, Yan Chen and Imam. So nowadays, a lot of information goods online are produced by individual users rather than one single publishers. For example, when we go to online shopping, we read the reviews on Amazon. All these reviews are produced by individual users who either have the experience of the goods, or who have used that, and also the Yelp online review. In the case of health support networks, the information and support you receive are also produced by the peer patients. In the photo sharing website, the photos uploaded are produced by individual users instead of one single publisher. So the study we look at is focused on what we call the public information goods. In the traditional economics, the public goods is characterized by two features. One is non-reverse, which means that the benefits of one individual from using a public good is not affected by the number of users who are using that. So this is by nature for the public information goods, where, for example, when I read a Wikipedia article, the benefits that I enjoy from reading it is not affected by how many people who are or who have read that article. The second feature of public goods is non-excludable, meaning that nobody is being excluded the opportunity to consume a public goods. And this is true, especially by choice, in many public information goods cases. Like in the Wikipedia, we provide the articles to all to everyone who has access to the internet, and do not explicitly exclude them, either by forcing them to pay a registration fee or having an account. So the production of public information goods and motivating people to contribute to public information goods is an interesting problem. And the prevalence, there are many cases where team, groups, or organizations of individual users has been observed in the production of public information goods. For example, in the software development community, the GitHub, we have the GitHub team where software developers who are interested in the same topic or in the same area come together and collaborate with each other. So the question that we want to answer from this study is, how does the group membership, team membership, encourage one's contribution to the public information goods? And secondly, if we identify such an effect, what could be the potential mechanism behind the impact of that? There were some previous studies looking at how the induced group membership can drive pro-social behavior, both from the theoretical model, laboratory evidence, and the field evidence. So in terms of the WikiProject and editors' contribution behavior, I will later talk more about why we define WikiProject as a group. But so from the previous literature, there are many studies looking at how the WikiProject interact with editors' contribution behavior from the perspective of the experience composition of members within the Wikipedia members. What is the mechanism through the division of labor or reducing the coordination cost? One common limitation in this study is the causal interpretation in these studies are not quite clear, meaning that we are not pretty sure whether it is because joining WikiProject, it is joining a WikiProject that drives an increase in the observed contribution behavior or it is the other way. So in this study, we want to fill this gap. So now let me give a brief introduction of what a WikiProject is. So the WikiProject is a coordination platform at Wikipedia, which is a web-based online encyclopedia established back in 2001. As of last year, it has accumulated more than 5.6 million articles with over 800 million single revisions. It's been constantly ranking among top 5 most popular websites all over the world. So one feature of Wikipedia is that it provides free and open access to general public. So on average, there are over 500 million unique visitors each month. So it falls under the category of public information goods. So the WikiProject is a platform that's introduced soon after the establishment of Wikipedia. So a WikiProject is a group of editors who work collaboratively as a team, usually focused on a specific topic to improve the quality of WikiProject articles. So for example, there is a WikiProject economics where editors who are interested in areas of economics work together to improve articles within that topic. As of May 2018, there were over 2,300 wiki projects on Wikipedia. So WikiProject provides the basis for a project identity or team identity through different features. For example, each wiki project has a mission statement articulating what's the scope of the project, what is the short-term or the long-term goal it aims to reach. Each project has also a associated project talk page, which essentially functions as a forum for discussion among members about what is the goal, which articles that the project should focus on. For most projects, there is also a user box, which is the demonstration of the common identity. For example, the WikiProject Economics has a classic demand and supply curve as its project user box. So if a user who is a member of WikiProject Economics, he can post that user box on his user page to demonstrate to demonstrate his project identity. The fourth feature is each project, almost all projects has its own list of members showing who have joined the Wiki project. So here is an example of WikiProject Economics participants, and there is a list of the unique name of the users and the time when they joined the project. So this is a brief description of what a wiki project is. So the question that we want to answer is, if one editor joins a wiki project, what is the causal impact of that of joining wiki project on his contribution behavior? So the data we look at is from the editing behavior of 9,134 registered editors on the English Wikipedia. So the selection criteria of this is we focus on the top 10,000 most active users. The reason we look at this kind of a selective set of users is that it gives us enough activity so that we can draw the causal identification, and it gives us enough power on the treatment effect. We exclude the bot accounts, which is essentially a computer program that usually aims at administrative work. Among these around 9,000 registered editors, there was 6,000 of them. 6,000 of them eventually join a wiki project. So the participation rate is around 2/3. The data includes, for every registered editors here, the timestamp for each revision, what is the editor ID, the article, and the associated project of each revision, if that article is under a specific project, and how large the revision is measured by the bytes and the characters. So we aggregate the user behavior on a monthly basis. At the end, we have a total of 821,000 editor month observations in our data set. So before I present the causal identification results, let's first look at a graphical evidence on what's the behavior of a wiki project member before and after joining a wiki project. So these two figures provide a time trend of the edit size measured by the number of characters in one revision, and the number of revisions for each editor before and joining a wiki project. So 0 is the month relative to joining a wiki project. The dashed line in this figure, the solid line in this figure, are the behavior of users who have joined at least one wiki project, and the dashed line are the editors who have not joined a wiki project, but who present similar behavior to a user who have joined a wiki project. So the dashed line is more like a comparison group through which we can tell the difference in the behavior after joining a wiki project. Here we can see before joining a wiki project, the behavior of the two groups are pretty much the same. But after joining a wiki project, although there is a decline in their number of revisions and the size of revisions, those who are in the WikiProject decreases less compared to those who are not in a WikiProject. So the difference here demonstrates that those who join a WikiProject are more active, appear to be more active than those who do not join a WikiProject. However, this graphical evidence tells us no causal story of that. The reason of that is, although the average contribution decreases less for those who join a WikiProject compared to those who don't join a WikiProject, it could be that what drives this before and after comparison is the selection bias in the treated editors. So basically, joining a WikiProject is a separation of editors who are sufficiently active versus editors who are not active. So the difference we see there is not due to the impact of joining a WikiProject. So what we want to do is tease out the difference and find out among that gap, what is the causal impact of joining a WikiProject. So the way we do is we use an instrumental variable regression framework. We start with a regression equation where YIT is an editor I's behavior in month T, measured by both the number of revisions and the size of revisions, as a function of whether one is in a WikiProject or not. So membership is a dummy variable that equals to 1 if editor I has joined a WikiProject in month T and 0 otherwise. So the parameter of interest here is beta 1, which measures the treatment effect of a WikiProject membership. So this regression would uncover the treatment effect for beta 1 if membership status is randomly assigned among the users. But in reality, it is not randomly assigned, and it is usually a self-selection process. So what we want to do is find out an external shock, like an external force that affects whether one is in a WikiProject or not. And at the same time, that external force is outside the control of a user, so that it gives an exogenous shock to whether one joins a WikiProject or not. So that external shock that we look at is basically an instrumental variable approach. And the variation we look at is the variation of one user's exposure to WikiProject on talk page. So let me briefly explain what that is. One channel through which a user joins a WikiProject is through the talk page of an article. So let's say I'm editing an article at Wikipedia, which is public good. And as we can see, there is a talk page associated with the talk page associated with the article public good. So on the top of the talk page, there is a list of the WikiProject to which that article public good is associated with. So when I editor a public good and I go to the talk page, I will see the 3 WikiProjects in which the 3 WikiProjects to which public goods belong. So I get exposed to the existence of 3 WikiProjects, and maybe I saw that there's a WikiProject economics, and I got interested to that and joined that. So this channel through which one joins a WikiProject is the variation that we use to construct the instrumental variable. So here is how we do it. So the rationale is when one revises the talk page of an article public good, he gets exposed to WikiProject economics, and then he joins the WikiProject economics. So the instrument measures to what extent one gets exposed to WikiProject through the talk page of an article. So the instrumental variable is among all the articles whose talk page for an editor that are revised by an editor and eventually assigned a project, the fraction of those that have been assigned one back then. So let me give you an example of the instrumental variable. Suppose in 1 month, I join a wiki project. So for that user, we look at all the articles that he has contributed to. Let's say he has contributed to 5 articles: public goods, game theory, microeconomics. The other two articles are Article X and Article Y. Among these 5 articles, 3 of them are eventually assigned a project: public goods, game theory, and microeconomics. Then we look at the time when that editor joined the wiki project, whether how many of these 3 are in the wiki project. So let's say only public goods and game theory are assigned to wiki project economics at that time, but microeconomics is not. So in this case, the intensity of exposure to wiki project for that user would be 2/3, because there were 3 articles that are related to wiki project economics based on their status as of now. But at the time when the editor joins a wiki project, only 2 of them are in a wiki project. So the level of exposure of that user to the existence of the wiki project economics is 2/3. So 2/3 is like a measure on to what extent one gets exposed to the existence of wiki project, and it drives the chance that one joins a wiki project or not. So in economics, instrumental variable is a very standard approach to draw causal interpretation in observational study. There are 2 requirements on the instrumental variable in the analysis. One is what we call inclusion restriction. So basically, inclusion restriction requires that the instrumental variable, in this case, the intensity of exposure to wiki project, should be highly correlated with whether one joins a wiki project or not. So we run a test and see that the first stage of statistics is larger than 10, which is a usually rule of thumb criterion. So the null hypothesis of weak instruments is rejected. Basically, it says the intensity of exposure to wiki project that we construct serves as a strong instrument. The second requirement, the exclusion restriction, requires that the instruments that we construct is not directly affected by the outcome variable, which is the level of activity that we in this case. So the exclusion restriction cannot be tested. It could only be argued. So the reason that we believe the exclusion restriction is satisfied here is the construction of the instrumental variable, which is whether an article is assigned a project or not, exogenous to the editor, because the status of an article is determined by the other users. It is out of control of one editor. So that gives the rationale why why the exclusion restriction is satisfied here. Okay, so here let me present the evidence from the instrumental variable regression. Here, as a comparison, I provide you with both the ordinary least square regression and the instrumental variable regression. The left panel of this table gives the regression using number of revisions each month as the outcome variable, and the right panel gives the size of revisions as the outcome variable. So both these outcome variables are the log transformation. So the coefficient here should be interpreted as the percentage change. The change in the log transformation. So from here we can see that joining a wiki project has a statistical and economically significant impact on the number of revisions, both for the number and size. From a back-of-envelope calculation, the instrumental variable regression shows that compared to those who are not in a wiki project, joining a wiki project has a 25 times more increase on the number of revisions in the month after joining a wiki project for a user. And the size of revision increases by 10 times more. Then we are also interested in looking at not just revisions, because revisions includes both additions and deletions. So if we restrict our analysis to only revisions that are additions, the same results hold. So having established that there is a large causal effect of joining a wiki project, then we want to see what could be the potential mechanism for the wiki project membership. What is the reason that drives the higher activity of users who join in a wiki project? So one of the plausible reasons is that wiki project provides a large set of devices that gives recommendations to users through in various formats. For example, many wiki projects has this collaboration of week, which is studied in the previous literature. Many wiki project maintains a list of open tasks from which users can select the immediate task they can work on. Many projects have a monthly newsletter which gives a summary of tasks that are finished and to be done in the future. So our conjecture here is the more recommendations a project provides, the larger the increase in editor's contribution, because the recommendations serves as a focal point, serves as a recommendation so that it decreases the search cost for a user and directs them to a smaller set of articles that they can work on. So to verify this conjecture, we need to come up with a measure for the number of recommendations. And the measure we use is the size of home page. So how large the home page of a project is. The reason we look at the home page is the recommendation devices that I've introduced previously, such as open tasks, monthly newsletters, are usually listed in the home page. So the larger the home page is, the more likely there are more recommendations there. So to the extent that the size of home page serves as a good measure for the number of recommendations, we provide a regression result that with number of revisions and additions as a dependent variable, and the log transformation of project size as an independent variable. So our result shows that in response to a unit standard deviation change in the log of project size among all the wiki projects at Wikipedia, there is a 8% increase in the number of revisions and 13% increase in the size of revisions, and similar results if we restrict our analysis to only additions. So the basic the short story here is, the larger the project size is, the more increase in the average, the more increase in the activity of an average Wikipedia member. So this is here, the revisions and additions are restricted to the articles inside a wiki project. So if I join WikiProject and economics, this table tells there is an 8%, the larger the project is, there is an 8% increase. We are also interested in whether there is a spillover effect in terms of the articles outside the wiki project, and that the results shows that the effect.
Sorry to interrupt you. We only have about a minute or two left, so just wanted to let you know.
Okay, sure, thank you. So in short, what this evidence provides the support that the recommendation through WikiProject could be one reason that drives the behavior of WikiProject. So I'm going to skip the next result on the similarity of WikiProject, which also speaks to our conjecture. So in conclusion, we measure the impact of WikiProject membership on individual contribution, and the result of an instrumental variable regression shows that there is a large effect of WikiProject membership on both the number of revisions and the size of revisions. And through observational analysis, we provide support that article recommendation could be one of the reason, one of the underlying reason of the estimated impact. So this is all for my presentation, and thank you very much for everyone who joined, and I would be happy to answer any question.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Ark. So for time, we're actually going to hold questions until after the end of the next presentation, when I think we'll have plenty of time for questions. I have one big question that because as you know, Ark, this is something I've been interested in a long time. So I look forward to having a conversation about it.
Yeah, sure. So I'll stop sharing my screen. Yeah.
So so now we have Swati joined us stealthily just after the beginning of Ark's presentation. And so I will introduce now Swati Goel. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Swati. Swati is going to present her research, which she conducted in collaboration with Leila Zia and with Ashton Anderson of the University of Toronto last summer when she was working as a volunteer with the Wikimedia Foundation research team. Swati's presentation is titled "Thanks for Stopping By, a Study of Thanks Usage on Wikipedia." And Swati, I will let you take it from here. If you can unmute yourself and then see if we can get screen sharing set up. If you can hear me, Swati. So Swati, according to us, you are still muted. Although I see you in the Hangout. Leila and I are working hard behind the scenes right now, trying to debug this with Swati. Well, while we're doing that, perhaps we can check in and see if there are any, maybe we have time for a question then. Isaac, do you have any questions from IRC or YouTube for Ark?
There's none on YouTube. On IRC, I think there was some interest in just a little more explanation around this confounding effect of choosing to join a wiki project and how that was dealt with. So any kind of revamping of that and talking about that again would be appreciated.
Okay, so the confounding that we want to clarify through instrumental variable is that when we compare users who join WikiProject versus who do not join, right, there is a selection effect on that. it might, so joining a wiki project could just be a sign that separates users who are sufficiently motivated for those who are not. So we want to find an external shock that that is exogenous to these users. So these are out of control for them. So think of the exposure as more like a nudge to these users. So if I'm interested in an article and I edit it and I saw the WikiProject economics there, it serves as a nudge telling me that, okay, there is this this thing called the WikiProject economics, versus another user who's as motivated as I am, but just because some factors that he cannot control, he did not see that sign. Maybe because that article has not yet been assigned a project yet. So that kind of a difference, which is out of control for an editor, serves as a shock, a local shock to them. So that helps us to tease out the confound there. So that is basically the idea of how we use that intensity of exposure to WikiProject to users.
My question is actually kind of dovetails with that. Layla is currently working with Swati to debug some fun technical issues. But in the meantime, I'll start my question, and then we can revisit it later when Swati gets her technology issues resolved. But my question is, so you frame this around group identity and group theory. And group membership. And I wonder if that's necessary. And I wanted to know if what your thoughts on that are. So you're really, the mechanism is exposure to the existence of these WikiProject pages, essentially. That's not necessarily, in my mind, the same thing. Being aware that a page exists that contains resources written by people who have similar interests to you isn't the same thing as being a member of a group in and of itself. But I could definitely see that being aware of that could be helpful. So maybe now I'm going to say welcome, Swati, and we can have this conversation after her presentation. But
Sure.
Swati, are you ready for us? I saw your video for a second there, but I do not hear you. Okay, I can see your video.
I think she can't unmute. Yeah.
That's really unfortunate. Do you have another computer?
Jonathan, the other thing we may want to try is for Swati, just call in. We have never done that, but
that could work. So you can advance your slides while you're logged in here, but then your voice will come through the audio.
Yeah.
In that case, let us try Layla, are you sending her the phone information?
I did.
Excellent. Okay. All right, Swati, we're going to make this happen. Thank you, all of everybody out there in research showcase land for your patience today.
Jonathan, another option I have is just to call on Swati's mobile number if she wants from the Hangout.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either of those options works.
I see a thumbs up. Okay, let me give it a try.
Excellent. Thank you, Layla. All right, Swati. I think we can hear you. Can you say something?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Excellent.
All right, I am setting up.
All right, so let's see. And we can see your screen. So, all right, great job, Swati. I'll let you take it from here.
Okay. I'm Sophie. I am a high school student, and this past summer I worked with Layla from the Wikimedia Foundation and Professor Anderson from the University of Toronto to look into the Thanks feature on Wikimedia, how it's used and how it might be impacted. There are 14 edits per second made on Wikimedia, a lot, and until recently, showing gratitude towards these edits used to be hard. And the Thanks feature was created to address that problem. It was rolled out on 2013 in the English Wikipedia, and it has since been introduced across Wikimedia. And the idea behind the Thanks feature is that as an editor, I can go to the edit history of any page, and I can click on the Thanks button next to any revision. Whoever made that revision will receive notes and thanks them for that specific revision. And then the fact that I thanked them, so not the revision that I thanked them for, will be taken. So we studied Thanks. This is the research documentation page at the bottom, and here's what we learned. As an overview, we first looked at who uses Thanks. So roughly 5% of editors have sent or received Thanks. Active editors, so those who are editing more frequently, are also using Thanks more frequently. And then less experienced editors thank more experienced editors more often, which basically means that it's more typical for Thanks to be sent upwards. So now we're going to look at all three of these general bullet points more specifically. The 5% figure was lower a couple of years ago, more like 3 or 4%, but the usage of Thanks features has been increasing over time. And what's interesting to note about this is that this upward trend exists even for projects in which the total number of editors has decreased. So a greater percentage of editors are using the Thanks feature, even in projects where there are fewer editors in total. And so then we looked at which projects use Thanks, and a ranked list of all projects is provided. Among language Wikipedias, these were the 5 languages in which there was the greatest percentage of the editor population involved in sending Thanks. And something interesting to note about this is, especially at the lower end, but at the higher end as well, you have a couple of projects in which there are only 1 or 2 people thanking. So there are definitely projects where the Thanks feature is used a lot, but also projects in which it is almost not used at all. And so now to talk about the disparity in Thanks usage within projects. More experienced editors and those who are editing more frequently are, as you might imagine, thanked more often. And this can be a huge disparity. So sometimes the top 20% of the editors in a project can receive 260 times more thanks than the bottom 20%. Another behavior with this is that thanks are typically sent upwards. This is not saying just that the more experienced editors are receiving more thanks, but that less experienced editors are typically sending thanks up to more experienced editors. So here you see the editors ranked by percentile. So at the bottom you have the percentiles of editors based on the number of edits they have made throughout their Wikipedia career. And then the y-axis is the thanks they have given. So almost all the things are being given by the top 5%, which is to be expected because a lot of these lower percentiles are people who have only edited 1 or 2 times. And And the data for thanks received is very similar to this. The only real difference is that the top 5%, top 5 percentile, this percentile, the average number of thanks received is 14. So what's interesting, however, is when you make this a ratio of the thanks given to edits, you'll see that proportion to the edits, the number of thanks given is actually decreasing as we get higher up in the edit count. This was done in a smaller subset of languages, larger languages, and so it's possible it would be a more smooth graph if we were to do it across all projects. But this trend held in every project examined, especially the dip for the editors in the 90th percentile, 95th percentile. And then to look at disparity again, the idea of thanks being sent upwards, we have a sample set of 11 languages, and you can see that even among novice editors, so the bottom 20 percentile of editors, if we look at all the thanks given by these editors, the average edit count of the people who gave the thanks was lower than the average edit count of the people who received the thanks. And the same holds true for tenure. And the most notable example in which this is broken is Norwegian for the tenure graph, and also Norwegian for the edit count graph, which is interesting because it is such a clear trend in the other languages. It could be due simply to a different structure of the project or some quirk of the project relating to Wikipedia in Norwegian, but it could also have some larger cultural implications that might be interesting for future work to consider. And then this holds true even for more experienced editors. So if we look at the top 20% of editors, we still see that the average person giving a thank is less experienced than the average person receiving a thank. So the takeaways from this first part of the study are first that the usage rate of the thanks feature has been increasing, but there is still a lot of room to grow. Even among editors who give thanks, there's still a small group that gives thanks at a much higher rate. We've shown that there's a strong correlation between receiving thanks and having a higher edit count, although there hasn't been any work into causal link thus far. The most experienced editors send or receive the most thanks in absolute terms, but if you look at the number of thanks they send and receive in comparison to their edit counts, it's actually the lowest ratio. And some more takeaways. If we actually look at the number of thanks
Sorry to interrupt you.
in all projects as opposed to the number of thankers, and we control for population size, we see a lot more variation in the number of thanks than the number of thankers. The number of thankers is actually pretty constant, but the number of thanks given with regards to population size has a lot more variance. We see that thanks are on average sent to more experienced editors. They're sent upwards, and thanks are typically received in groups as opposed to being spread throughout the year. So people tend to receive thanks in clumps. And so to see more on some of these takeaways that Warren is representing in this presentation, you can go to the documentation. And now to go to the second part of the study, which was looking at the impact of thanks on editor activities. So thanks editors consistently have higher edit counts the day after receiving a thank when compared to their unthanked peers. And this holds for novice editors, and it also holds for experienced editors. So what we did is we matched editors who received a thank on some day with those who did not, controlling for features such as total edit count and tenure, and also short-term edit count. So, for instance, if I received a thank on some day and my friend did not, and we had similar edit histories both in the long term and the short term, we could potentially be matched. And then we would compare the subsequent edit count over the next few days and the next few weeks of me and my friend and see if there were any differences. Originally, we tried propensity score matching, but then we switched to ground truth matching because we showed that there was a correlation between higher values for each of the features we use and a higher future edit count. So the way we did the matching is we looked at two editors and we tried to match only when all the features for the two editors were very similar, favoring the unsynced editors. And so what I mean by that can be seen in this example result. So this is an example result from Polish Wikipedia where we took a group of editors and we attempted to match synced editors with unsynced editors. And what you can see is that if you look at the average values for the synced editors versus the unsynced editors for tenure edits, previous syncs, short-term previous edits, short-term previous syncs, these numbers are really similar, but the average for the editors who are synced is slightly lower than the average for the editors who are unsynced, which would indicate an expectation that the unsynced editors would be more engaged in the future. But if you look at the next day edits of those who were synced, it's much higher than that for those who were unsynced. And the reason we did it this way is it shows that it is likely to be receiving a sync on that day that caused the discrepancy in the future edit count that we saw. And we also show that this isn't just because of a couple of results skewing the data, because overall, within the matches, in the majority of matches, the synced editor was the one who had a higher future edit count compared to their unsynced match. And we looked at these results in Portuguese Wikipedia and MetaWiki as well. So what do these results mean? What it means is that we could consider possibly making the feature more easily discoverable by editors, or just giving thanks, as it seems that they can increase short-term edit activity and can act as motivators. But it also raises a lot of interesting questions to pursue further, one of which could be the cultural implications of how the thanks feature is used. Another is trying to see or trying to show that thanks features could compound to have long-term effects. So we could first expand the study conducted here to more projects, and then try to show not just that receiving a thank is strongly correlated, strongly linked to having a higher edit count the next day, but that receiving multiple thanks possibly leads to more engagement and more edits over the long-term course of a Wikimedian's career. So thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you very much, Swati. I'm so glad we were able to make that happen. That was a wonderful presentation. So first, we will go to Isaac to check in. Isaac, do you have any questions? Isaac Johnson, research scientist, Wikimedia Foundation. Do you have any questions from IRC or YouTube for Swati?
No questions from either.
Excellent. Then I will open it up. Does anybody in the Hangout right now have questions for Swati? And you know I've got tons of questions, so get them in now if you have them. All right, you asked for it. Swati, I thought this was really, really interesting. So I have a couple questions. First, I think, so these are not necessarily questions where I think that, I guess I'm more interested at this point in learning what you think after you've spent so much time studying the usage of this feature. So my first question is, why do you think that there's such a pronounced disparity between the people who give thanks and the people who receive thanks in terms of both their tenure and their edit count?
So I think part of it is probably due to the fact that if I am editing more, I am more likely to receive a thank. I think it's possible that that could be the entire explanation for that. There is such a necessity.
Except for on Norwegian, right? That struck me too. It looked like the trend was reversed on Norwegian if I was reading your chart correctly. Was I wrong?
You were correct.
So So that's interesting, right? So I think I agree with you that it makes sense. The more you edit, the more likely you are to get thanked for an edit. There's more things to thank you for. But then, how would we account for a situation where the dynamic was reversed, but it looked like basically the same strength, but in the other direction? What's broken about Norway?
Result as well. I was thinking that it could potentially be because in some languages there are very few people who are thinking, who are making up the majority of the things that are sent. It could be just a couple of people who are actively editing very actively, but also thinking very actively. And what I was thinking it could also possibly sort of broader cultural implications, especially because for some of the other studies too, Norwegian.
So we lost your audio there. I think I got the first part of your comment. It sounded like your first comment was, well, this may be that the overall number of thankers and thank instances in Norwegian Wikipedia was so small that you see a lot of skew in the data compared to some of the other wikis. And then the second part, it sounded like you were saying that there could potentially be kind of culturally mediated reasons why you would see this in this wiki. I didn't hear any more than that, though. Did you have more to say on that topic?
That was basically what I was saying, yeah. I was also saying that there were a couple of other instances in which Norwegian was a little bit different than the languages we studied. For instance, in, I believe it was the ratio of thinkers to editors, especially in the people who were the more experienced editors, was higher than in.
Interesting. So Norway's an outlier in other dimensions as well. Thank you. Isaac, it sounds as though we have another question from IRC. Would you like to relate it?
Yeah, actually, two. One I think is a clarifying question, which is, did the research look at any non-Wikipedia wikis? Just essentially, what were the universe of Wikipedias that were studied? So I'll let you do that one because I think that's a short one. And then there's a follow-up.
So yes, we did a couple of the studies across all projects, and then for some of the studies, for instance, looking at the disparity between senders and receivers, those we only did in language with a set of language Wikipedias. But then for looking at the impact of receiving a thank on editors, engagement, we expanded that to meta.
Okay, thanks. And then the second one was whether you noticed whether the thanks clustered on similar edits, and whether multiple thanks maybe had a larger effect on a given user.
So as to the second part of the question about multiple edits maybe having a larger effect, that did not study, but it's something that I think somebody definitely should see if that would have a larger impact. But yes, we did notice that edits clustered, or things clustered around specific.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you once again, Swati. So we have a few more minutes that we can go, and I'd like to open it up for if we have another question or two for either Ark or Swati today. Now is the time. And if nobody else has questions, I can always just continue with the question I was asking Ark. Anything from IRC or the room for Swati or Ark?
Nope.
Okay. Ark, So basically my question was, do you really need to consider wiki projects to be groups in order to perform the analysis you were performing or interpret the results that you discovered?
Yeah, so I think let me answer the question to that in two parts. The first part of our result is more like considering WikiProject as a platform, right, where people have similar interests to that, and it happens that it shares many common features we see in the groups. They have a common interest, they have a common goal. So the value of the first part of our research is to give a causal estimation. If I join such a platform, which is pretty like the usual teams and the groups we see in online, offline, different communities, what's the value of that? Then, by saying that joining a group, there could be many ways through which a group motivates people, right? So previous evidence have shown that by joining a group, you receive emotional support from in-group members, like Swati did. You receive thanks from them. And there were many WikiProjects where a new user is automatically receive some greeting message or a thumbs up for their contribution. So all these could be driven. So what we have shown is the resources provided by a wiki project and gets users restricted to a small set of articles that they can start working on. So reduce by coordinating their effort. It is one of the channels. So in that sense, I think this speaks to one mechanism, one plausible mechanism through which the group can motivate users.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me. Okay, well, before we have a couple more minutes before we get shut down. So I have one more question, and it's for Swati. Swati, have you received or given thanks on Wiki before? And when you gave it, what did you give it for? And when you received it, how did you interpret that?
So the only real editing that I've done on Wikimedia is for writing the research page. And receiving a thank, the only thing I received was from Layla. But I actually, even knowing the person who it was and being communicated with them on a daily basis, it still felt really good to receive the thank. And so for me, it was very believable when we got the results and we saw the large impact or what appears to be a large impact of receiving a thank on having a higher edit activity the next day.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear you say that because I just thanked you for your latest edit to the Understanding Thanks research page on Meta. So I hope that will lead you to make many more research edits to Wikipedia projects in future. Also, for everybody out there listening, I linked to that research report in the showcase abstract on MediaWiki.org, which is available through the IRC channel, and also below the video on YouTube. So if you'd like to find out more about that paper. Ark, if you have any public documentation around your paper, I'm happy to link that from the MediaWiki page as well so that people watching this in the future can follow up with that. You can just send me anything over email. Sounds good.
We'll do that.
And with that, thank everybody who joined us today. This has been the April Wikimedia Research Showcase, and we will see you all, not next month, we're taking next month off, so we will see you all again in June. Thank you very much.